Upon Arslan Yapku's imprisonment and death, the new heads of the Seljuk family, and thus of the Turkmens, were the brothers Tughrul and Çağrı, and the older, quite an ancient Musa İnanç Bey was appointed as Yapku. Sultan Mahmud sent an envoy to Tughrul and Çağrı to apply the same policy of elimination that he had successfully applied to Arslan Yapku, but they refused to accept his proposal. On the other hand, Ali Tekin came to Bukhara again after the meeting of Yusuf Qadir Khan and Sultan Mahmud. This time he sent a message to Tughrul and Çağrı and proposed an alliance against their common enemies. But Tughrul and Çağrı, who could no longer trust him because of his hostile attitude and behavior towards them in the past, did not accept his proposal. Ali Tekin then sent an envoy and valuable gifts to Yusuf İnanç in order to divide the Seljuk family against each other and make them subservient to him, but he did not succeed. Thereupon he sent an army under the command of Alp Kara to raid the Seljuks. Many Seljuk beys and soldiers, especially Yusuf İnanç, were killed in the battles. Nevertheless, the Seljuks, who recovered in a short time, mobilized with an army led by Tughrul, Çağrı and Musa Yapku, and defeated the army of the Bukhara Karaghanid Principality under the command of Alp Kara and succeeded in killing him. Nevertheless, in the face of Ali Tekin's continuous attacks, the Seljuks were forced to migrate to Khwarezm and settled in the regions of Şurahan and Darhan given to them by the Ghaznavid governor Altuntaş. On the other hand, Mahmud, the Ghaznavid Sultan, died around this time, and his son Mesud, who emerged victorious from the struggle for the throne with the support of Ali Tekin, became the Ghaznavid Sultan. However, Mesud, who continued to implement his father's policy, assigned Altuntaş, the governor of Khwarezm, to lead an expedition to Bukhara against Ali Tekin. Altuntaş died shortly after the battle at Tebusiya, thus the Ghaznavid army had to retreat to Khwarezm. His son Harun, who was appointed as the governor of Khwarezm in his place, declared his independence and started a rebellion against the Ghaznavids. In order to strengthen his position, he made an alliance with the Seljuks, in order to ensure the help and support of them. In return, he gave the Seljuks Ribatmash and Şurahan in Khwarezm as a homeland. In addition to that, he got stronger by involving Ali Tekin in this alliance. Thus, a triple alliance was formed against the Ghaznavids. In October 1034, on the feast of Eid al-Adha, the Emir of Jan Shahmelik, a member of the Barani tribe of the Oghuzes, who seems to have been closely following the Seljuks who had come to Khwarezm and taken up residence there, organized a sudden raid on the Seljuks. He killed 8,000 Seljuks and took many women, children and soldiers prisoner. He also captured a great deal of property. The Seljuks, who thought that they were in a safer place, were extremely surprised and alarmed, and thought that they had been betrayed by Ali Tekin or Harun. Immediately after the incident, Harun, in order not to lose his ally the Seljuks, consoled them, giving them a lot of goods and money. He also attempted to reconcile the Seljuks with Shahmelik, but without success. Shahmelik, who wanted to attack the Seljuks again, had to retreat to Jant in the face of Harun's large army. Sometime after this event, Ali Tekin died. Thus Harun, who was in a struggle with the Ghaznavids, lost a very important ally. Taking advantage of this, Mesud, the Sultan of Ghazni, had Harun, who had fallen into a weakened state, killed by an assassin he secretly sent. After these two important events, the Seljuks entered a serious and dangerous period again, under the threat of Ali Tekin's sons on the one hand, and the Ghaznavids on the other. When the Seljuks could no longer dwell in Khwarezm in the spring of 1035, they crossed the Amudarya with 10,000 cavalry and reached Khorasan without permission from the Ghaznavids, settling in Merv, Seras and Farava. The Seljuks thus changed the homeland 4 times in approximately 70 years of arduous struggle, moving to Jand, Mavra al-Nahr, Khwarezm and finally Khorasan. They were followed by the Inals under the command of Ibrahim Inal. With their arrival, the Turkmens of Arsanyapgu fled to Iraq because of old enmity. When Inanshiyapgu, Tughrul and Çarebeys arrived here, they immediately sent a letter to Sultan Mesud and asked him to give them this land in return for military service. In this letter, which constitutes a very important historical document, the Seljuk chiefs stated that they had to migrate to Khorasan and that there was no refuge for them in the world. Sultan Mesud, who was immediately informed of the situation, did not accept this request of the Seljuks, taking into account how his father Sultan Mahmud had committed a serious mistake by transferring the Arsanyapgu Oghuzes to Khorasan, and the problems they caused in the country. However, although the members of the Ghaznavid court argued that it would not be right to put the Seljuks, who currently had 10,000 warriors, in a hostile situation, the Sultan did not change his decision and decided to organize a military operation against the Seljuks and immediately put it into practice. For this purpose, he sent a large Ghaznavid army under the command of Beydoğdu against the Seljuks. The Seljuks were defeated at first, but they defeated the Ghaznavids in the main battle fought in the Nesa region, especially thanks to the great military skill of Çarebey. The commander-in-chief Beydoğdu and his scattered forces were able to escape to Nishapur with difficulty. This victory against the Ghaznavids was a very important and historical achievement of the Seljuks on their way to establishing a state. The Seljuks, who won a great victory against a great state for the first time, obtained so much gold, silver, weapons, tools, clothes and animals that they were astonished. The Seljuks were still afraid of the power of the Ghaznavid Empire. In spite of this victory, the Seljuk chiefs showed that they were politically as well as militarily very powerful people, by not giving into pride and seeking peace. They declared that they had fought this war in order to protect their families and homes, and did not fail to apologize to the Sultan. After this victory, they obtained what they had previously demanded by letter in the treaty negotiations. As a matter of fact, Sultan Mesud sent a Manchur to the Seljuk chieftains along with khilats and banners, and granted Nesa to Tughrul Bey, Distan to Çarebey, and Ferave to Inanshiyapgu. In this way, the Seljuks won a political victory, more important than the military one, with this legal document and signs of sovereignty, which ensured an independent homeland and administration. They had now established the nucleus of a new state. Moreover, they had gained self-confidence with this result. They were convinced that they could defeat a great state. Thus, after a long and dangerous period, they found consolation. They attained relative peace. In this new homeland, the Seljuks were increasing and strengthening with the continuous Oghuz migrations. Despite the agreement, the Seljuks and the Ghaznavids could not establish a trust, and both sides were skeptical of each other. For according to the Ghaznavids, the Seljuks were pursuing great dreams. As a matter of fact, there were reports that they were mocking the Sultan's khilats and throwing the cones he had sent them. On the other hand, Turkmens were invading everywhere. After the Turks who had arrived and settled in the past, now they were flowing in larger masses, and Mavra al-Nahr, Khwarezm, Khorasan and Sistan were filled with Oghuzes. Bust, Guzgan and Sarakhs were being raided and plundered. Unable to comprehend the situation, the Ghaznavids attributed the movements of other Turkmens to the Seljuks. In this situation, both sides were preparing against each other. The Seljuks were now taking security measures by establishing relations with their neighbors. Khwarezm Shah Ismail, who succeeded Harun, continued his independence movement and established friendship with the Seljuks. Burakhan in turn sent letters sealed with his own stamp to the Seljuk chieftains against the Ghaznavids and congratulated them on their victories. For these reasons, Sultan Mesud sent Hajib Subashi with 15,000 men and another army to Herat. The Seljuks, who were worried about this movement, contacted with Khwarezm Shah Ismail on the one hand and sent an envoy to the Sultan on the other hand, stating that they didn't commit any offense and that the invasions and raids carried out because the Ceyhun and Balhan mountain roads were open belonged to other Oguzes. Nevertheless, they still complained about the narrowness of their homeland and the large number of their people and demanded the taxes of the cities of Merv, Seras and Balverd as salaries and offered military service in return. The Seljuks, while acting with his political subtlety and maturity, understood the Sultan's threats. However, they did not show any weakness against this and put the responsibility on that side and challenged when it came to this refusal. Indeed, pointing to the army sent to Nishapur and Herat, they said, "If they attack us, we will take the defense. In that case, the respect between us will cease. Therefore, the decision belongs to you." Sultan Mesud, enraged by these letters and demands, said, "On the one hand, they have turned Khorasan into a calabash, and on the other hand, they say these fancy words," and rejected the treaty offer. The failure of the attempted reconciliation was leading the two suspicious parties towards a fateful showdown. Khorasan was also filled with new immigrants from Turkestan. Sultan Mesud sent his vizier to Herat and ordered all Khorasan troops under the command of Subashi to attack the Turkmens. Although the situation was so dangerous, he himself made an expedition to India and was engaged in the conquest of the castle of Hansi. As the Sultan arrived in India and the winter of 1037 came, Subashi remained completely idle. In view of this situation and the constant news, the Sultan returned from India and ordered an offensive. Subashi traveled with his army from Nishapur to Seras. The Seljuks, who were terrified of this advance, were forced to accept a battle in front of Seras by sending their families and their weights to the desert of Merv. In this situation, they were even preparing to leave Khorasan and migrate. In the first encounter, the Seljuks, in groups, harassed the Ghaznavid army and retreated quickly to the desert, thus compensating for their lack of strength. Their light cavalry gave them the ability to attack and retreat frequently against the heavy Ghaznavid army. Finally, 1038, in a fierce battle that lasted from morning to evening, Subashi was defeated. The entire Ghaznavid army was dispersed, and countless captives and booty fell into the hands of the Seljuks. Subashi escaped to Herat with only 20 slaves. The second victory of the Seljuks completed the first one and brought them independence instead of autonomy. Çağrı Bey's courage, military genius, and swift actions were the main factors of this victory. The Seljuk Beys, confident of this victory, were establishing their states. According to the old Turkish feudal state understanding and tradition, the provinces were divided among three chieftains. Tughrul Bey, as the legal and fiduciary head of the state, had Nishapur, Çağrı Bey had Merv, and Inançapko had Seras. The Ghaznavid rule in Khorasan came to an end, and the Seljuk state began. When Ibrahim Inal went to take over Nishapur 12 days after the victory, his words in the face of the people's anxiety are very important in terms of expressing the high state-building qualities of the Seljuk Beys. "I am writing to our eldest Tughrul Bey, who is a just Padishah. He will appoint Çağrı Bey to Merv and Yapko to Seras. Until today, the corruption or plunder was the work of the small people and was caused by hardship and necessity. Today the situation has changed, and the country is ours." 3 days later, Tughrul Bey entered Nishapur with 3,000 armored cavalry regiments. In this foundation of the Seljuk state, Tughrul Bey became the Sultan, and Çağrı Bey became the Malik and army commander. After a while, the Abbasid Caliph Al-Qa'im bi-Amrillah sent an envoy to Tughrul Bey in Nishapur. Thus the Abbasid Caliphate recognized the Seljuk rule in Khorasan. Thus the Seljuks, after 3¼ centuries of great suffering and loss for the sake of Islamic jihad and the love of independence, finally, fate began to laugh at them, and world empire was born under the leadership of a great genius like Tughrul Bey.